urgency is an illusion. This is a realization that I've been making in the past few days. Here in San Diego, having arrived from Costa Rica, where I was living very slowly. And now I've arrived to the hustle and the bustle of the city. And I have been feeling in my nervous system as I'm walking through crowds of people all of the ways in which people's nervous systems are contracted and tight and stuck. This is the urgency. People seem to be stuck in fight or flight within their constricted nervous systems, which I can feel within my hypersensitive body. And then the urgency, the rushing, is actually an attempt to escape that constriction within. So that the very thing that people are trying to escape, the very thing that people are urgently rushing towards and away from, the very thing which is guiding people to rush towards all kinds of externalities, is actually the Leviathan within their own nervous system. People are urgently rushing away from their own presence. That which they are trying to avoid is their presence. Why? Because humanity is living out of alignment. The 9 to 5, the poisonous food systems, the avoidance mechanisms, all of the extractive systems that are put in place to fulfill our pleasure-seeking principles for the sake of avoidance and false and illusory comfort, all of these things perpetuate pain within our bodies. They cultivate pain. They cultivate the pain of being misaligned with our own innate natures, with our own innate freedom, with our own innate connection to God. They take us out of our presence and they cultivate the pain of that lack of presence. And therefore the avoidance, the urgency, the rushing is always to get away from that presence, because the presence will then force you to feel that pain within yourself, within your body. Your body holds and stores that pain of all of that avoidance. Perhaps not your body, but most bodies, and probably yours as well, definitely mine. The urgency is an illusory escape from our very own presence. In order to avoid facing the pain which our very urgency takes us away from. Do you see how this is a self-perpetuating and self-reinforcing cycle? I will get a little bit more tangible. The other day, it was Sunday in Pacific Beach. This is Pacific Beach. The beach is now empty, but on Sunday, it was sunshine and it was crowded with hundreds of people. It's the weekend. Most people are in the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and the weekend is their time to relax. So the people come to the beach to relax. What does relaxation look like for most people? Drinking, eating poisonous food, setting up on the beach and scrolling on your phone, indulging in all of the patterns of avoidance, which instantaneously fill with gratification, which fulfills the avoidance mechanisms to avoid the confrontation of one's own pains, to then repress those pains, and then carry them once more into the week. Nervous system remains constricted. Nervous system remains in fight or flight. Pain still remains, cultivates, and aggrandizes, becomes grander within the body. I was walking through the beach, on the beach, through the area, feeling these hundreds of nervous systems constricted, and my nervous system, which picks up on people's energies all around, which is working on having stronger and grander boundaries rooted in my own sovereign breath. I could feel the illusory nature of the urgency, the appearance of escaping their own selves, which is itself an illusion, and the fact that they are remaining stuck and entrapped in that constriction itself, that these people are trying to go and relax, but they're doing so from this like tight, constricted nervous system dissolving place. And it's not even a nervous system dissolution, because the dissolution is in fact what they need. They need slow surrender into breath and slow surrender to God, and to jump into the womb of the ocean and just float for a while, truly melting away. But a lot of people have forgotten that that's even possible. A lot of people are cultivating daily mental scripts, emotional scripts, bodily scripts, lustful scripts that are keeping this perpetual loop of confinement within their bodies, within their vessels, within their breath. They convince themselves that they are suffocating, that they must suffocate to go pay for this bill, to go do this meeting, to go take care of this thing that needs to be taken care of. Oh my God, I must absolutely do this. All for the sake of avoiding confronting one's own self, listening to one's own heart, tuning in to the feelings of our multidimensional bodies, which are always communicating to us that which we need. And in fact, the nervous system constriction, the fight or flight, is actually the body communicating that something is wrong. Something is not right here. Something is out of balance, and there is relaxation and regulation and breath and harmonious connection with love and divinity and prayer and feeling, which are being called in. But the edification of concrete and the atomization of the perpetuation of urgency and its illusions, and all of the leviathans of false control, which are opportunistically preying upon our pleasure-seeking principles and our avoidance patterns to perpetuate a macrocosmic cycle, system of deceit, confinement, imprisonment, falsity, and avoidance. The urgency is an illusion which comes from within in certain lies that people tell to themselves, which I tell myself, which you tell yourself. And then also from the external lies that are imposed upon us that try to convince us that there is any urgency at all. And that thrive in keeping us within that state of urgency. When we are in that state of urgency, we are in a state of fear. Fear, on the energetic plane, is nourishment for particular beings who operate on a frequency of so-called low vibration. The antidote to fear is fearlessness, love, connection to God, prayer, and breath, alongside the embodiment of your innate gifts, which are your freedom. For me, it is breath and writing and language. Dancing artistically with language, exploring my inner realms through my writing. I have my notebook right here. Making time and space to dive inward in face of the appearances and apparitions of false urgency, to explore what is the body actually communicating here. What is underneath of the feeling that I must rush, I must go take care of this thing, I must avoid, I must enter the void of my own delusions and my own avoidance. I must avoid the perpetuation of my own pains, which ironically will repress themselves and amplify until they explode. And then the pain has to be confronted. This is funny. There are some dogs right over there. And one of the dogs saw another dog and he's like, oh my God, I gotta go play with this dog. I gotta go play with this dog. And that is an example of a nervous system that loses control and is just like, oh my God, I must operate from impulse. I must operate from impulse. Impulse, impulse, impulse. Compulsion. And a lot of people who are stuck in their nervous system constrictions are following these impulsive behaviors. Their stomachs that are like, meh, I want beer right now. I want a burrito right now. I want something that will please me, that will take me out of the discomfort that I feel within my body. Lust, automatically looking, scanning for lustful pursuits, for sexual connections that might gratify with temporary pleasure to take away the pain of being. I've been witnessing such impulses within my own self. The impulses of my stomach. The impulses of my lusts, which actually conceal a deep desire for love and union. And I witness these things. And instead of allowing them to constrict and guide my will and nervous system, I make time and I make space to breathe into them and to feel into them and to explore them and to give them voice through my writing, and then explore and ask what is actually going on here. I was going elsewhere with this transmission, which I forgot. Yes. So the antidote the antidote to fear is fearlessness and love. The antidote to urgency, what is it? It is slowness. Slowing down. Walking with extremely slow footsteps. Breathing deep breaths into your belly, into your feet, into your hands, into the fullness of your body, instead of shallow nervous system constricted fight or flight breaths, like perhaps like a panting, lusting dog. Deep, sovereign breaths that say, I am present. I am here. I am safe. There is no urgency. And even if I have to get somewhere kind of fast, I can move somewhat fast, but keep my breaths slow and deep and maintain a state of awareness that simply says, I am here. This is what I am doing right now. There may be a sense of urgency. There may be a certain reality in the fact that, okay, I need to get somewhere relatively fast. I need to move my body rather quickly. But slowness is synonymous with intentionality and awareness and breath. Consciousness. How consciously can you sit with your urgency? How consciously can you witness if your urgency is rooted in a state of fight or flight, in a state of nervous system constriction? And can you notice that within your body as you are moving through it? And can you do something about it in the moment when it is happening? This seems to be one of the challenges that people like me, people like you probably, because you're probably in resonance with the kind of energy of which I'm speaking here, where we are innately coded for slow forms of life, for mountain hermitude, for sitting by the river naked, eating watermelon in the sunshine for hours upon hours in the summertime, perhaps even in winter. If we're in Costa Rica, man, I miss the jungle. We are challenged to find our jungles, to find our naked watermelon rivers, to find our sacred mountains, to find our eternal meditative realms within the momentary awarenesses that we must breathe into and through our hearts and our nervous systems, in spite of the concrete, in spite of the illusions of urgency, in spite of the leviathans of false control which try to come and impose themselves and wrap themselves around our necks and wrap themselves around our spines in Kundalini serpents, which are actually leading downwards towards inversion. I don't mean downwards towards real grounding to the earth. I mean underworldly. I mean inversion. There seem to be certain forces at play which wish to keep us stuck in this illusory urgency and constriction, which wishes to bear venomous fangs within our spinal systems, to pour venom into our beings. What does venom do? Venom paralyzes, clots the blood so that blood and the water of our emotional bodies cannot circulate. The leviathan of concrete is pouring venom into the liquid, ethereal systems of our bodies. The way to reclaim and to heal is to reconnect with the waters of your being, so truthfully endowed with the breath of our Creator that it melts away all illusions, for venom itself is illusory. So long as you allow yourself to root yourself in the truth of your liquid, living, breathing light. This is done with prayer. This is done with spiritual practice. This is done with living your gifts. This is done with breath. This is done with connecting with the waters, the primordial waters of the earth and womb. This is done with elemental activation, feeling. You can't see my feet, but my feet are upon the ground of the earth, and my roots are planting in the soil of the earth, connecting all the way down with the root systems of the trees, connecting with the sky, praying to the luminaries, praying to God, praying to the universal spirit with it, which is present in the convergence of the quadrielemental perfection of being. Earth, air, water, and fire converging into the ethers. Sometimes I feel like I get ahead of myself with my words, and I enter a flow state which sometimes thinks that I must speak fast, that I must cast my words like lightning bolts of Zeus and Thor and Jupiter, Sagittarian arrows of flame. And it will be on me to discern how much of that urgency, how much of that rapid fire is rooted in truth and how much of it is rooted in illusion. It feels like it is when I enter my fiery Sagittarian warrior flame, that the rapid fire comes out and that the transmission wants to flow in that kind of fluidity. If you've watched this far, let me know how the rapid transmissions feel within your nervous system, within your body. Peaceful or tense? Purifying or constricting? I guess that's work for my body to do, not yours. But I'm curious, if you witness within the rapid fire urgency that is illusory or urgency that is inspiring, so that not all urgency is illusion, but I'm speaking specifically of the urgency that is illusory. You understand what I'm talking about, right? So anyway, I won't get too far into those depths. Somehow, I've talked for 30 minutes, so I'm going to end it there, because I feel like I've said what I needed to say and more. I am back to posting videos. I have been challenged, landing here in San Diego, being surrounded by the concrete Leviathan, but I'm refining and learning to protect myself with my breath, with my prayer, with my gifts, with my luminosity. And the more I do that, the more I shine, the more protected I will be, and the more inspired I will be to offer these musings to you, to the world, and to the dissolving of all venomous concrete. That's it. Many blessings be with you. Thank you for watching, for listening, and I send you infinite love. Thank you.